In 2018, I decided to try out doing some abstract painting. And in December of that year, I bought canvas, a 4-foot canvas, and bought a bunch of acrylic paints and brushes and thought I'd give it a try. It's been 34 years since I painted anything. So that was a bit of a new experience for me. But it was weird because when I started painting and sort of let go of the mental process of painting, something came out of my heart that was, it kind of scared me, but in a way it scared me because it was not like I couldn't control it, but I felt like there was something that was coming out from deep within my being, you know. But what I realized was that even though I wasn't trying to paint this, trying to paint anything in particular, what was coming out of me was a theme in my life. It's like something that had been there for the last 46 years. And the best way for me to describe this was that it was a painting of how I met God for the first time. I remember, you don't ever think of yourself as being worthy to meet God, or that God would want to meet you. But in my apartment, in our apartment in Ogden, Utah, Mary Lou and I had just been married for like 3 months. So it was like Memorial Day weekend, 1974. I knelt down in my living room after my brother-in-law and I went through a Bible verse. I had never read the Bible before in my life. And he read a Bible verse in Ephesians that made me, and I realized in some sort of a spirit way that God was speaking to me, and he was telling me about this thing that he did for me. And it was the cross, and the message of the cross was coming across. And the only way I can describe it is that it was not a real voice, but it was like something hard as steel, like concrete inside, that was saying, you need to respond to this. In your heart, you need to respond to this. And what was this? It was just like he was just telling me about the cross. And I never understood it before, never seen it, never had anybody read the Bible before to me besides my mom, and it was always stuff that was really difficult to understand. But there was something about the cross that made me realize that I needed him. And it was amazing. And just like the kind of person I am, I started to doubt. First of all, doubt that he would touch my life, and that he would have any care about me at all as a person. And then to be able to know that it was actually him speaking was just amazing. So I got down on my knees and I surrendered my life to Jesus. I gave him my life. I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know the prayer for saying or whatever. I just remember just giving up my life and surrendering to him. And immediately, I just started thinking, oh, this is stupid. What am I doing? And there was nothing extreme or nothing weird happened. I didn't, uh, nothing strange happened. I just said that prayer and said a prayer of surrender to Him, and after that, we went for a walk, I think, with my brother-in-law and his wife and Mary Lou, and everything was nice. And so the next morning, when I woke up, it was just like, okay, if this is real, I'm gonna know something is gonna feel differently about my life, or if it wasn't real, nothing was gonna feel different. But then I remember waking up, and the best way I can describe it is that God was right here, like in there somewhere. And it was like a presence that was there that I couldn't shake. It was real, and He was there, and I couldn't do anything about it. It was just like insane to think about that just speaking to God that way and surrendering, that He actually took up residence there. And I wasn't expecting it. It began on that day to change my life. I mean, I was in the military, and of course I did the stuff that military guys do, after basic training and all that. Some of the crap that I did, was pretty shameful. But my life began to change. I started reading for the first time. I never had an interest in reading anytime. And all of a sudden I began to be this person that started reading and started trying to understand the human nature. And I started reading my Bible, and the Bible, of course, I never read the Bible before, but everything made sense in it. Well, not everything. I mean, it seemed like we had a lot of questions. But then my life began to change from the inside out. And I could no longer, Mary Lou and I would fight. I would fight, and I would run away. I couldn't stand the conflict, so I would kind of take off. And if I couldn't take off physically, I would take off emotionally and not engage in the conflict. But after that, there was this presence, or the Holy Spirit, that I guess I came to realize that it was actually the Holy Spirit was actually convicting me to stick around and not to bail out in a fight, and to talk, and it just became a life-changing thing. And that was 46 years ago. This cross has become the theme of my life. When you experience Him, you can't throw it away. You can't toss it aside as just something you don't believe anymore. It's just, when something happens like that to you, and you get like a deposit of the Holy Spirit inside, you can't just throw it away. And there's never been a day since Memorial Day 1974 that I have not woken up and realized that He is there, and He's real, and He lives inside. And the only thing that I did was surrender. I just surrendered to Him, and that was it. I didn't do anything to deserve it. So this theme of the cross. I mean, not just the cross. You know, as a kid, I would think of the cross. The cross to me as a kid was a crucifix. You know, we were raised in the Catholic Church, and the crucifix was as close to the cross as I could get. You know, I mean, I always just thought of it as just being this spiritual thing. You know, like my mom used to have a plastic St. Christopher on her dashboard when she would drive around, and hoping that this plastic Christopher would keep her from harm or a car crash or whatever. The crucifix was sort of like that to me as a kid. You know, we had them hanging in the house, you know, and you know, of course in the Catholic Church it was a big deal. So it's different than that, because it's the cross is not just the crucifixion, it's actually all the stuff that happened around the cross. And I guess it's his love there that draws, you know, because that's what I had tasted on that day. I tasted his love. And there's no greater way for a man to love than to lay down his life. And that's what he did for me. Jesus laid down his life for me. And that's pretty awesome. What I remember the most about that experience back then was that it was personal. That somehow, of all the things that God has to do, and what God was doing everywhere else in the world, that he decided on that particular day, in that particular minute, to come and meet me. That's what made it personal. See, no longer did I have this just thoughts about God, but I now had an experience with him. He met me. But he didn't meet on my terms, he met on his terms, which is me seeing him crucified and to lay down his life for me. It's God's greatest act of love. And he loved me. That's pretty amazing. I guess there's more to this story. There's a lot more, because that was just the beginning. And here I am at 65 and heading to 66 here in a few months. And there's a lot more things that happened. And the cross, even though it was an act in history, in time and space, the cross changed my life. And I have grown to see a deeper side of the cross, the message of the cross. There's something really interesting that I want to share with you, but not in this video.